I would love for you guys to leave your comments as we get closer and closer to training camp. Where do you think the biggest area of need on this Green Bay Packer roster, of course, heading into training camp, is for you? I think without a doubt, it's defensively, and we're looking at our defensive backs with the departure of Jair Alexander. It certainly leaves this little bit of a vacancy there to where you had that guy on your roster that is like, okay, bring it. I don't care who we're playing against. We've got Jair Alexander, if healthy, of course, if healthy. But now with the departure of him, it certainly leaves a little bit of a question mark defensively. Or do you look at our defensive line and you're like, okay, we need some help on the edge? Of course, with the inexperience and inefficiency of Lucas Van Ness since we drafted him, is that the biggest area of need for you? Well, the Green Bay Packers just got some great news and some good news out there, and Ogbo of the Cleveland Browns was released. And I'm not saying that this dude is the answer by any means, okay? But hear me out, okay? So you've got Ogbo released by the Cleveland Browns, and here's the thing. If the Green Bay Packers find themselves heading into training camp, and of course, Ogbo may not be that dude, okay? But he is a veteran, and the Green Bay Packers have some options out there if they don't like what they see out of our current guys on the roster. Of course, he signed a 3-year deal back in 2023 worth $19 million. He was owed just over $5 million. And of course, with the signing of Myles Garrett and that contract extension worth $40+ million a year, they had to make a cut somewhere. Ogbo seemed to be the guy that made the most sense on that roster. Okay, so heading into age 30 for Ogbo, he's a veteran. And while he could be a prolific run defender or have some pass rush upside, it doesn't make much sense to me that the Green Bay Packers would go out and get a guy like Ogbo. I don't think he provides elements of the game that the players already on the roster don't already have. Okay. But the good news is, again, this is just going to be another veteran piece, another veteran presence out there that you're looking at as guys that could potentially be options for the Green Bay Packers if they don't like what they see heading into training camp and such. Okay, so Ogbo, his numbers are certainly not sexy, and if it's me looking at our roster, I'm certainly leaning into the guys that we have. We're going to take a look at their depth chart here in a second, but Ogbo scored a PFF score of 45.3. I think he had 3 sacks this last year. He did 3 sacks, 4 assists, 1 forced fumble. I just don't think this is the guy for Jeff Hafley's defense. And then you got a guy like Matthew Judon, who's out there, 43 overall PFF score. He had 6 sacks this last season, 7 assisted tackles, 28 total tackles. He had 6 sacks. That might be a piece that you can go out and get if you need a veteran piece that can give that pass rush that you're looking for if we don't like what we see out of what we have. And then you've got Von Miller, who, of course, is the oldest of the group, 36 years old, but he's the best of the group of available guys and what he can still bring to the football field. Again, not getting any younger, 36 years old, 82.4 PFF score, 6 sacks last year, 7 solo tackles. He's got a better run defense grade than most of those guys out there at 62.3. And I think that's exactly what Jeff Hafley's looking for on this defense. And then you've got Clowney, who's, of course, another guy out there that's currently available. But again, you're looking at Von Miller, you're looking at Clowney, and those are going to be guys that are probably going to command a little bit bigger of a price tag than the Packers are. Well, they certainly have the money to do it, but maybe that they're willing to spend given who's currently on their roster. And Clowney had 6 sacks this last year, 63.4 run defense and grade, and then a 73.2 pass rush grade. So you take a look at the guys that are currently on the Green Bay Packers defensive roster on their D-line. You got Lucas Van Ness, and that's the question mark that we have heading into training camp, heading into preseason and the regular season. Is Lucas Van Ness the guy that Brian Gutekunst thought he was? Now, we knew that he didn't have the experience heading into the NFL. We knew that it was going to take a couple years, and this is that year that rubber meets the road. We find out what Lucas Van Ness is certainly made of. If not, you've got Byron Sorrell, who we went out in the draft and got, who I'm pretty big on. And then you've got Brenton Cox Jr., who I'm really big on. I already know that dude is capable. He showed us at the end of last year that he can go out there and make some noise on our defensive end. Opposite side, you got Rashawn Gary, Kingsley Ignegbari, Aaron Mosby, guys like that. So when you look at the depth chart on this Green Bay Packer roster, I think they've got some guys to go in there and pick up the pieces. However, great news for the Packers is if they're not happy with it, then you've got guys like Ogbo that are out now available out there. You've got guys like Matthew Judon, Von Miller, Clowney. Um, there's certainly going to be some other guys cut that can be added to our practice squad once training camp comes and people start making their selections, getting down to the 53-man roster. So that is certainly going to be great news for the Packers. Is I think they're going to be set. I think they're going to be okay at our defensive edge. So for me, I think the biggest area of need when you're looking across the board, looking at the depth on this Packer roster, is our defensive backs. The departure of Jair Alexander was probably needed. However, man, it leaves a hole. It really does. And I want you guys to leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, go Pack Go.